I am Taryn Boyles, and I will be presenting this slideshow on the unseen costs of EV advancements. EVs are seen as the future, but what is an EV? An EV is an electric vehicle that converts stored energy from a battery to rotational energy through electric motors. This system is highly valued because it produces no CO2, carbon dioxide, while driving. For this reason, EVs are being pushed by media and government in order to meet the environmental demands by 2030 and 2035. My argument against EVs is that it is not a near solution for our carbon goals. Although this product is a perfect replacement for our internal combustion counterparts, they have several hidden costs. Things such as how the batteries are manufactured, the vehicle life cycle, and the lacking infrastructure that our grid provides. Let's start with the batteries and the problems with the processes of their manufacturing. Most of the net carbon from electric vehicles comes from the battery making process. Materials like lithium, cobalt, and nickel have mining processes that cause huge demands on the environment, and they are only harvested, and to add to that, they are only harvested in third world countries where environmental and labor regulations are barely in place. Again, the mining is only bad because of the lack of restrictions and regulations, and the ability that smaller countries have to enforce them. For example, cobalt from the Congo is known for its intense child labor using intense child labor to obtain it. In Indonesia's mines, they are known for bad erosion control and letting harmful substances into their rivers and waterways. To add to that, these smaller countries are being pushed by larger countries such as China. China is behind all of these processes. Their demand for materials makes them go into these countries and start mining operations, or pushing for these countries to start mining operations because they have a lack of restrictions and laws, meaning that they can obtain these products for a much cheaper cost. To add to this, the batteries aren't even worth it. First, every year a battery loses 2% of its range. That is going from a 300-mile range to a 250-mile range in 10 years. Additionally, they also leave life cycle throughout the years. So batteries, on average, normally have a short lifespan of 8 to 15 years. A new battery often outweighs the value of the car. A new battery can cost from $10,000 to $15,000. This means that it makes it more this means it makes more financial sense to buy a whole new car rather than replacing just the battery. What this means is that more and more of these cars will end up in a junkyard, where on the other hand their gas counterparts are cheaper and easier to maintain and sustain a much longer life than the average EV. For example, if a gas vehicle is properly maintained, it can last up to 30 years. My biggest argument for the push for EVs by 2030 is that our grid simply cannot sustain the extra load. What is the grid? The grid is the infrastructure that gets our power from power plants to our houses. This is power lines, power poles, power stations, power plants, and the people who maintain this infrastructure. So the issue is, if the majority of our driving population owned an EV, the grid would end up experiencing major surges. Major surges occur when a lot of people demand energy all at the same time. A good example would be when most people get off work at 5 p.m. and drive home, then they plug in their car at 6. Everybody plugging in their car at 6 p.m. would cause an immense surge on the grid. This demand requires a much bigger grid and a more technological advanced grid. Things such as smart grids that can store power and prepare for their surges, or prepare power for certain times like that 6 p.m. slot. The biggest issue with this is that we only have 5 years to do this according to the media. Even if we had the grid, where would the power come from? To make EVs a viable, environmentally friendly option, the source of energy must be environmentally friendly. The main three are solar, wind, and hydro. The issue with solar and wind is that they are super inconsistent and would require huge batteries to store energy for the surges. This relates back to the issues with batteries and how they are just as bad for the environment. Also, as of now, fossil fuels are still the majority of energy production in America. This would defeat the whole purpose of electric vehicles. So I believe that we should focus and push more for a cleaner infrastructure, supporting infrastructure for EVs, meaning cleaner power plants, cleaner technology to produce power, cleaner systems, cleaner processes and methods, so that we can take the product of electric vehicles and use them to their full advantage. A counter argument that I've seen is that batteries are quickly evolving. This argument is very valid. Batteries are using new materials and technology to increase their capacity and performance over their lifetime. One example is that some colleges and some schools and companies are developing new ways to make batteries more efficient. One company uses small gold nanowires that can recharge over 200,000 times. Other companies are researching new technology such as solid-state batteries and zinc air batteries. Although this new battery technology is promising and would help clean energy methods like solar and wind, we still need a bigger grid in order to put those batteries to full use. We also need other more technologically advanced energy production methods that are more environmentally friendly. We also need better battery manufacturing. If those batteries are made using the harmful methods as batteries are today, the batteries would be mostly pointless. So we need to focus on the supporting structures that would support our electric vehicles rather than just focusing on the end product. Electric vehicles are amazing when it comes to on-road emissions, since they produce a zero zero tailpipe emissions compared to their gas counterpart. They also have great performance other than their range, but when it comes to building a healthier future, we need to look at areas that support EVs, not just the end product. And this process will only take time and money, which we don't have from now to 2030 and 2035. Thanks for watching this presentation.